in the daytime? That back door?
Turn on the lights.
No, turn, about sit down. Yeah, sit down. Like you know how they come in in the morning time?
Break that trailer back down.
Y'all, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. First, if you would stand with me, and Kyle Gentry is going to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Whenever you're ready, Kyle.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me give you this, Kyle. This is a official City of Hernando lapel pin. Thank you for doing that for us. Alderman Miller, would you lead us in the invocation?
Father, Lord, we come before you one more time. We first say thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for this great nation and country that we live in. But then, Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us this opportunity to serve. And we pray, Heavenly Father, whatever service that we run on tonight, whatever decision that we make, Lord, that they will be pleasing in thy sight. We just thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Before we move to approving the agenda, we do have some members of the Mayor's Youth Council here tonight. If they want to go on the Youth Council Leadership Summit, they're required to come to one of the meetings. So if y'all could stand up, anybody on the Mayor's Youth Council? I'm not going to call you out by name. I just want everybody to know that you're here. All right. Thank y'all for what you do, and y'all are looking at the future leaders. Some of y'all will be sitting up here one day, we hope. Okay, on the agenda, we have added one name, Mr. Dustin Flowers, to the personnel docket. And at the request of Alderman Miller, we added item number 22, which is something that's been needing to be done. He just wanted to get it discussed on the record. So if I could have a motion to approve this amended docket, or the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Need a motion to approve the docket of claims.
Motion made. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to approve the minutes from the regular mayor and board meeting on November 16th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, can I have a motion to approve the personnel docket?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Personnel docket passes. Item 9 is to approve the donation docket.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is the approval to accept the donation from the Hernando Animal Alliance Board of a 2008 Chevrolet Express van to the Hernando Animal Shelter. Has approximately 189,000 miles and is outfitted with kennels in the cargo area, has new tires, and a new backup camera system. It has a value of approximately $5,000. The nonprofit was using it to help the city transport, and they have donated it to us so we can continue using it for transport. I have a motion.
to accept.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next is item 11. Kendra, would you like to come up and present that item to us?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. This is a request to vacate the previously recorded Fidelity Commercial Subdivision Phase 1 plat. It was originally recorded in April of 2000, and fast forward to April of 2021. the board did approve a final plat for the Carlisle Development Subdivision, which would have replaced the Fidelity Commercial Subdivision plat. At that time, it was thought that the note added to the Carlisle plat stating this subdivision plat supersedes and replaces in all respects the final plat of Fidelity Commercial Subdivision would have been sufficient in order to vacate the Fidelity plat. However, when the Carlisle plat was taken to be recorded, the Chancery Court Clerk's office informed us that that note was insufficient and the board would have to take official action to vacate the Fidelity plat. I'd also like to point out, both of the plats are included in the staff report. The difference between the two are the names on the plats, and then also there is a Lot 3 that is added to the Carlisle plat, which includes a private access easement to East Commerce Street. The Planning Commission did hold a special meeting on December 2nd and voted unanimously to approve or recommend to the board approval of vacation of the Fidelity plat. And there's also a motion included at the end of the staff report. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Any citizens need to comment or question that? If not, could we have a motion?
Motion to approve the vacation of the recorded plat of the Fidelity Commercial Subdivision Phase 1 recorded on April 3rd, 2000 in Plat Book 70, page 48 of the DeSoto County Chancery Clerk's record, located on the south side of East Commerce Street, west of McCracken Road, and east of Bradford Trace Mobile Home Park Road in Section 18, Township 3 South, Range 7 West.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to authorize us to accept on behalf of Gia Matheny scholarship acceptance letter in the amount of $550 from the MEDC Scholarship Committee for tuition reimbursement.
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, item 13 is to authorize the fire department to purchase 12 SCBA's, 12 of the bottles, 12 face pieces, and these items are budgeted for and are under the state contract price.
What's the total cost?
$89,000.
When will that have to be paid and have sufficient revenue came in, Mayor, to make sure that we can do that purpose?
Yes, as soon as I got this email from the chief, I checked with the city clerk, and we have sufficient funds in the general fund account.
And to keep from asking no question again, could we have it in our agenda item that sufficient funds are available to pay, so we won't have to ask that question, or will we be redundant, because we know how.
Yeah, until February, we do worry about
revenue flow
that.
the first 6 months.
Okay.
So we just have that noted in our package, so we won't have to, deal with it.
That's easy enough, sure. Okay. Can we have a motion?
So move.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to authorize the fire department to surplus and remove old radios from inventory. They were taken out of service in 2016 when they were no longer compatible with the new system.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 15 is to authorize the admin department to dispose of an HP OfficeJet 4652 printer with the listed serial number. I have a motion to dispose of that.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, item 16 is the approval to hire Neil Shafer for engineering professional services necessary and in the best interest of the city for the Oak Grove Road Highway 51 intersection project. Neil Shafer, as y'all know, we have a local citizen that Vince Malavasi, who works for them. They expressed interest. They approached MDOT. MDOT said, great, y'all are on our accepted list. So they have put forth a proposal that you have in your packet, and David Bowman is here to represent. Where's David? Would you like to come up and just kind of briefly go through what this would entail?
Sure.
And before you start, if y'all remember Representative Darnell and State Senator McClendon, have gotten us $250,000. It's sitting in the bank account. We have to spend it as quickly as we can. And this is the first piece of getting us started on that so we can move towards improving that intersection.
Right, and basically what this gets us started with, we will, perform a traffic study to determine if the traffic circle or the roundabout system would work. We would do survey, geotechnical, and look at the right-of-way. Our first big push would be to get, in talking to Senator McClendon, is to get some sort of cost where he can keep further asks to get money through the state bond program that they have for the construction of this. But this would take, our services would take us through full design services. So that's in generally what we will do. But we'll have traffic counters and take the counts, and we'll coordinate all this with MDOT because this is their roadway. And so we'll have to get permitted through them and coordinated through them also.
Could I ask one question? You made a statement there that I picked up on over. Where did the thought come up with a roundabout at that intersection? Where did that come from? Because I heard no discussion on it. I didn't. So I would like some information on that.
Well, it's primarily coming from MDOT. They're really looking at doing roundabouts along 51 to help control traffic and make it safer. They're currently doing a study for some intersections north of here on 51, and that's just kind of what they're pushing for their for Highway 51.
So we have no recommendation, no ideas, or nothing that we can state on that ideas about roundabout, because roundabout is not as safe and healthy as people really state they are. So where did the input come from the city? Do you have any input on that, Mayor? And I throw it in your lap.
Well, we can always have input, but I will say that I'm a big proponent of them because they are very safe.
But there again, that's just,
But this did come from
that's your opinion that, we got a whole board,
Sure.
Well, that's why we need to do the traffic study to determine what the best alternative is to use. We'll make those recommendations to y'all, and you can, take that information to proceed forward. Again, kind of the little tweak that you've got is that, I don't know if tweak's the right word, but the issue that you have, this is MDOT's roadway, so you're pretty much going to do what they allow you to do, on their roadway. So that's the only, this is not like a city street that, you get to control, how
I hope you said what I said. I said input.
Right, we can ask.
That was the word.
Yeah,
input.
we can certainly ask for what we think the best recommendation.
And when you're doing the traffic study, I mean, obviously you can say you recommend based on this or that, which
That's
one
correct.
would work best.
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
we want to put the best alternative there. I mean, there's some things that, in this particular intersection, there's some vertical issues that we have to deal with. You're coming down a hill and coming up a hill. There's some right-of-way constraints, that, become, so we'll look at all of those situations. That's kind of part of why we do this. I mean, we're not going into this with a true, this is what's got to be done. We're going to start and look at all the alternatives.
Thank you.
What is your lifetime, or what's your timeline for getting this conceptual plan developed?
To answer that question, the first part, we're looking at about 30 to 45 days to get all, so we can have at least the study part done. And then once we kind of know what recommendation we're going to go from there, we're probably looking at another 3 to 4 months.
And then once that's developed, how long is that plan good for? Say if we don't get the money from the state next year or the year after?
It should be good. The permit, I don't know exactly that question. We probably would have to update the permit every year, but the permit's good for about a year, once we get MDOT's approval on it.
So when do y'all think y'all will be starting, doing the studies? Simply for the fact that school's going to be out, everything's going to be not as much traffic.
Yeah, we would have to wait till school gets started.
So it'd be January when they get back in school.
Yeah, we certainly want to count all those
Right.
cars.
We want it, yeah, that's why I was saying, because I mean, they're going to be
No,
out for
we wouldn't
school in
wanna-
2
We
weeks.
wouldn't want to do a traffic study without the school being.
But just so,
Okay.
so you're saying if the money doesn't come through, you're gonna come back and do this again after a year if it's not?
No, once we come up with the conceptual design, you have to go through MDOT for the permit, and every year you just have to renew that permit.
So that plan is good.
That plan is good unless there's something major changes on it. Such as the school goes out of business or something. But it would have to be something unusual.
So that'd be a good investment for our money to go ahead and get.
I think so. I don't really see any downside, and like I say, unless you just see like a big subdivision development or something like that occurs in the area, and all of a sudden the traffic, has a different component. But that would be the only thing that would really cause it not to be good for at least 5 years or so.
And just a little bit of backstory, when we got the paperwork, the city clerk got the paperwork, they wanted me to sign it. And so I called Mitch Turner, who's the district engineer with MDOT, and I basically said, what are we supposed to do with this? We didn't really know. We had heard it was for that intersection. And he said, well, the way it's written, you can do whatever you want to, but then Senator McQuinn is not going to get you any more money, so you have to use it here. And that's the first time I heard him say that they were pushing for a roundabout. So that's where that came from. But he also said while we were signing that we had to spend it within 36 months. And I said, well, what should we do first? Because we don't want to be sitting here in 8 years and not have anything done. And he recommended the first thing to do is to hire an engineering company. So that's why we're here today.
So this $124,000 to hire them is coming out of the money that we already have that we got from our representative and our senator.
That's right. And it's
Okay.
sitting in a separate bank account.
Right.
And you'll have to do an audit on that when you get through to make sure
Right.
you spend it in accordance. We're very familiar with the program, by the way, as far as funding. We've done several projects using this funding.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, David. We'll get it signed tomorrow probably and get it to Vince.
Okay, great. And we can get started on the other thing, on the survey.
Okay, thanks so much. Next is the approval to accept the annual BBI application support invoice for $11,170 and for me to sign the software maintenance agreement. This is a budgeted item. This is the accounting software that the city uses.
Wasn't there a discussion one time of switching to a different vendor?
There was. I'm going to let the city clerk talk about that.
I think that they may believe we're too small,
Okay.
and if you're talking about Munis,
I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
They were talking
Yeah.
about it.
but we can look into that.
And I think we
In the
thought
future.
about looking into it, but right now, the new city clerk is drinking from a fire hose, so we'll wait at least a year to think about changing accounting systems.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no, and that motion passes. Next is to the approval to accept the annual BBI Juniper Mesa 2 tablet and star printer hardware support invoice for $608.26 and for me to sign that hardware maintenance agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, I'm going to hand this one over to Pam Powell. It's the approval to go to bid for the city depository with a 2 or 4 year option. This is something we have to do by law to change the bank or keep the same bank that we deposit the city funds in. So I'll let Pam discuss it.
Just recently, in the last year or so, they went to a 4-year option. So I'm going to do the bid for, I called the state auditor's office today to check, and I'm going to do a bid with a 2-year and a 4-year choice and see if we can get bids for both of them, because a lot of banks don't want to do 4 years. So it gives us options. If we could get 4, we wouldn't have to do this in 2 more years, but we'll see how it goes.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right, if so, we'll have a motion from someone.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is the approval for me to sign the memorandum of understanding with the state of Mississippi and the resolution to participate in the opioid legislation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, we need approval for the Zumba agreement for January 3rd through December 26th of next year for the Parks Department and for me to sign that agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is the discussion of walking improvements in the tunnel going under the interstate there at Dilworth. Just so everybody totally understands what we have there, MDOT has a intersection adoption program. So as we know, they only mow the grass about twice a year. If you want your intersection at your exit to look better, we adopted the one at Nesbitt and the one at Hernando, and we mow the grass a lot, so it looks better. Well, we did something that no one else had ever done. We actually adopted that tunnel right away going between the elementary school and the high school and middle school so that our citizens could walk back and forth there for exercise, transportation, or for kids just to get back and forth to school. So now we have control of it, and we can upkeep it and maintain it and use it. And Andrew Miller, I'll let you go ahead and finish.
And this, we have had several requests throughout the year from staff that work at the middle school and also the students that's going back and forth to school. And if you're familiar with that area, it's always, water is always there. So we have our students walking in unsafe condition. And as the mayor said, we adopted that, and once we adopted, we need to take the necessary step to make it safe. And we realized several things need to be done on there, from eventually putting lighting in there, painting the wall. But the first priority is to put down something so we won't have to walk in water. And several different options have been talked about, even to just putting laying asphalt pads right down the center where it'll be 4 or 5 inches higher than the other, then the water would stay on the side. And that's a quick fix that we can do. And like I said, we had mentioned this public works to the mayors and everything. So I think that whatever we do, we need to do it and get it done while the school is out during the winter. We were hoping that we had got it done this summer while school was out. But here again, we getting ready for to go out for winter break and hadn't did anything. So I'd just like the board to take some action that we can move this forward and get it done before they come back out the Christmas break. Because there again, it's the traffic there, and also talking with Alderman Lynch, even the guidance councils are also talking about. So it's a lot of concern about that. And also Alderman Wicker, the same thing. We all us in that conversation, and it's something that we need to do, whatever fund,
Prioritize it.
prioritize it and go on and get it done.
No, I agree.
My question is, if you're going to use asphalt, can we do that over Christmas break? Are we going to have access to something like that? Because y'all always say that closes down in the winter months and stuff, and we don't have access to that.
Joe, can you talk about that?
The plants are gonna be open in about 10 more days.
What do you think it would cost to run a 5-foot wide piece of asphalt down the middle of that? Just like an asphalt sidewalk?
I'll have to look, we looked at it a couple of times. I've got a couple of plans, either the asphalt way or the concrete way.
What about the metal ramp-like things? You know what I'm talking about? Like, if you did the metal, which we could get that anytime.
We put that out there as an option too. That's an option out there. You can put the metal ramps.
And it's got the little raised crosses on it, so it's not slippery.
And all
It just holds water. We just need to get the water out of there where it's
we
safe.
just need to get it elevated 4 or 5 inches
yeah.
above where it's at now, so they won't be walking in water.
I was just thinking of something that was, if we don't have access, you said 10 more days?
Yeah.
I mean, that's moving fast.
About what, 25 feet?
Yeah.
It's probably
Right, so if we want to do it over Christmas break, we're going to have to do another material.
Yeah. It's the whole width of the interstate.
And my point is right there. I think we done throwed out several options here tonight, and I'm looking at for our public works and our engineer to select one of those 3 options and get something done over the winter break. And excuses, it should be none. That's my whole point. It's time to move now.
So if they can come up with an option before the next meeting, could you make a motion with a price limit on it so they could go on and get to work?
Our engineers already told you got several plans. What's out of all the plans that you have, what was the cost? We ain't got to be exact. We know that you don't have your notes.
You're probably in the $20,000 range.
And that's a deluxe model.
Something to take care of. Of course, that tunnel serves as a drainage area. Water, there's an inlet in the west side, so it serves a purpose not only for traveling under there, but it serves a purpose.
Right, that's when I said that we'd put something down the center that we wouldn't impede the other, we're just talking about elevating.
Right, just got to either do the center or do the side. We have a water
Right.
line that goes through there also, kind of on the north side of the tunnel.
Public Works Director, have you looked at it also?
Yes, sir, I have.
What's your thoughts?
Well, like the city engineer said, it's a dual purpose. I would hate to put something in there that's gonna, constrict water and change the flow of water. But I agree to you that something needs to happen. Ideally, I would recommend pouring concrete. It would last longer. It's gonna cost more. I don't know how much more, but it would cost more, but it would be there from now on.
I would recommend whatever we do, it needs to be as permanent as possible. I've personally volunteered my time to try to fix this problem with my church. We sat down, walking pavers through there, and cleared out the water in there one weekend, and it was because the drain that was there was clogged up with leaves or whatever else caused the water back up. So, I mean, that's something that we can't monitor every single drain constantly to help with the water flow, but we do need to have something in there that is, obviously all those pavers are smashed up or whatever, whatever happens to them. It's a dark tunnel. I think additionally, something else we have to consider is lighting within that tunnel. I know that we've discussed that as well. Or at least talked about, looking at something like that as well, just to help with, any kind of, vandalism or people just messing around in there. But I think whatever we have to look at, it's got to be like Public Works is saying, whether it's asphalt or concrete, it's got to be something that is not easily movable, not easily damaged.
And I'm agree all them people. My thoughts is this though, and what everybody's saying is true. But right now, the children are still walking through there, and it's dangerous. And I'm talking about eliminating some type of a dangerous situation, especially since we'd adopted as ours. So I think yeah. And I agree. Lighting, as I said earlier, lighting, painting, all that need to be done. But I think that if we look at it as a priority, a 1, 2, 3 approach, getting something to dealing with the water, it should be priority.
I agree with that.
Would it be possible to have a plan in 2 weeks and for us to approve?
The city engineer is nodding his head.
Should include lighting?
Yeah, I can handle that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've looked at a couple of ways on lighting.
Okay. So Lee, you'll look at some lighting, and Joe, you'll come back with a best case scenario, maybe a couple of options for the board to consider on the raised walkway inside there.
Right, okay.
That we can do over their Christmas break, correct?
In the meantime, can we get some guys maybe to clean that drain out so it's
Yeah.
not full of water?
Lee's going to handle that.
I'll take care of it.
Alderman Miller, you want a motion made, or are you okay with this discussion?
Make a motion that our Public Works Director and our city engineer proceed and have us some plans for our next board meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Miller. Item 23 is the noise ordinance, consideration of possibly amending the noise ordinance. I know a couple of board members had spoken with some people who wanted to have this on the agenda. Does anyone want to start that conversation? Give us some ideas or thoughts? If not, I could just ask the public to speak, if y'all want to start with that. Because I know there's some public here to speak. I see a hand in the back. Yes, ma'am. You want to come first? And as you come up, try to keep your comments as brief as possible, and also state your name and address for the clerk.
Kathy Garrison, 1462 Hernando Point Cove North. I'm the manager and bookkeeper at Uncle Bubba's. The noise ordinance is killing us financially. We're losing 12 to 15 grand a weekend because we can't have our bands outside. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but at the last meeting, I was here when it got passed, and it was that the first complaint was going to be just a warning.
I'm going to look at the city attorney. Can you interpret that and answer that question?
That's correct.
Okay.
It should be a warning.
Well, I've got a ticket. I got to go to court for it tomorrow.
I was aware of that, but I'm not the city prosecutor. But
Right.
I was aware that a citation had been written, and the first question I asked in the meeting, it was just a meeting on something else about
Yes.
city business, and this came up. I said, did they give a warning? So that certainly should be done, and
Yeah.
I think the city's
The
aware.
officer was very rude and had his little papers and going through it and had no clue really what was going on. And I said, well, this is supposed to be a warning. And the only reason we had the band out at that particular evening was because we had a party booked for the garage area, which is now where the bands play. And it was going to be 50 people. And my customers were very, very angry because they weren't going to be able to have their party there. So I said, well, we have no choice but to put the band outside. It went really good all night. They did get a little loud. They wouldn't show me the decibel reading, but it was 81 on Jenny Neal's property and 83 across the street, which is an empty lot. So they didn't put it on my ticket or anything, but so I go to court for that tomorrow. And then also, when it closed out, I was under the impression that it was till 11 o'clock, and then when it came out and got passed, it was 10 o'clock.
That is true. I'm not going to totally speak for the board, but y'all correct me if I'm wrong. How's that? I think that the board had talked about it, and many of the board members thought they were passing an ordinance
At 11.
at 11.
Yeah.
Maybe not all, but the way it was stated and the way it was adopted was not 11 on the weekends.
Yeah.
Anybody disagree with that?
I think when I made the motion, I didn't include 11 and that was.
To adjust the paperwork that was in front of us for the motion. It wasn't adjusted. Oh, okay. In the motion.
There was multiple drafts that we were given, there was multiple examples that we were given.
Right.
So it was,
All right. Well,
So the ordinance as it stands is 10 o'clock on the weekends.
10 o'clock and at 75, and, I mean, the restaurant's only so big, it can only hold so many people. You know, we have our walls up, we're fixing to put our other wall up, which will help with the sound, but we really need to be at 85 like South Haven. I mean, because at that point, it was 81 and 83, and we would have been fine. And we can keep them down to that, but it's killing us because, I mean, you can only get so many people in the restaurant where when it's outside, and also when it was cutting off at 10, you know, we were losing a lot because of them leaving. I mean, when the band quits, the people are gonna leave. So if we can keep it till 11, then that's, you know, that's a lot, so.
The 2 hours a weekend that you're losing, it's costing you $15,000 in business for those 2 hours?
Well, we also have a Tuesday night, and so we had to stop the bands on Tuesday nights also. So, yeah, I mean, I'm the bookkeeper, so. But it's only because also you can't get as many people in the restaurant as you can get outside. So, yeah, it's costing us a lot of money.
Well, the weekdays are 9, right?
Right, yeah, and our band stopped at 9. It's
Okay.
the Bike Night Band.
Right.
So they always stopped at 9.
See anybody else? You had mentioned putting up a wall. I don't know. if
Well,
it
we
has
have
any bearing,
our plastic walls that we have.
Plastic walls, okay.
But that will still, you know, of course, it wasn't up in the summer, but we have it up in the winter because then we have our heaters under there. And so it gets nice and toasty in there and. So.
Any other questions for Ms. Garrison?
When did you have the ticket issued? Do you know what the date was?
2 weeks.
Because this thing's only been in effect for what,
5, 6 weeks.
5, 6 weeks?
I go to court tomorrow for it.
Well, and just because you got a ticket don't mean that you're guilty. That's what court's for. So you may. They may
Oh,
throw it
oh,
out.
yeah, I totally understand that. But, you know, I kept telling them, this is supposed to be a warning. No,
Everybody
ma'am,
makes
this is
mistakes.
not a warning.
Well,
This is-
Everybody makes
this is-
mistakes, that's no
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah, our staff's not used to enforcing this. They're on a learning curve, for sure.
Right. And then I asked him if I could see his decibel meter, and he wouldn't let me see it, but only because we would like to purchase the same type of decibel meter that y'all
Can I
have.
ask you a question? So when you get a speeding ticket, do you ask to see the speedometer?
That's not why I asked for it. I asked for it, so.
I'm saying, I asked
could
you a
get the-
question. I mean, when you don't, do you?
No, because I
Okay.
don't need a speedometer
So why you
meter.
need to see the decimal reader? You don't believe the
Because
officer?
I wanted to know what kind it was, so we could purchase the same
Well, I'm sure if
thing.
you emailed the chief, he could tell you that.
Well, he probably can, and I'll do that.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have to say.
So for clarification,
Thank you.
what you're requesting is to change the hours
To 11,
to
like.
11
I
o'clock
know.
every night.
No, just Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only two that it was 10 anyway, that it was supposed to be 11. And if we could raise the decibels to 85, it would be great. I mean, one woman has moved here from Oxford and has changed the whole city. It's
Well, the way
crazy.
our ordinance reads right now is from Monday through Thursday, it's from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. You're
Right.
okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
Friday
actually,
and Saturday,
Sunday's,
you
but
just-
yeah,
what
Sunday's
about
supposed to be
Sunday?
in there too. Sunday's 9.
And you're okay with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just Friday and Saturday.
Thank you, Ms. Garrison.
Thank you.
Who would like to speak next?
Terry Taylor, owner right now of Uncle Bubba's Barbecue and Smokehouse, 1848 Grand Manor Drive, Hernando, Mississippi. The reason you were asking about the money loss, the money loss is because we're turning down 50 to 75 reservations a week because we can't use it outside. I put the band inside, that takes up 30 seats, okay, in my inside area. I got 75 seats sitting outside doing nothing. That's where the money loss is. And, I've talked to a couple of aldermen. I told them there's, this noise ordinance, not particularly music thing, this noise ordinance being violated daily by businesses, and nothing's happening to them. And one alderman says, well, we've got to have complaints, but that's not how the noise ordinance is written. These things are getting violated, and nothing's being done, so it looks like you're targeting me. That's basically what it looks like here. And I told you, my wife and I told you, if this noise ordinance was set it like this, we wouldn't make it. And if it goes on like this, we'll probably be closing our doors. I mean, we got, food costs are 2.5 times what they were last year. Paper products are 2 times what they were. Just the cost of operating the restaurant, totally, we've been hit hard. And it's hard enough to stay in business. And then y'all basically, just eliminated my weekend revenue. That's what it is. I mean, I was doing 10, 11,000 on a Friday night. The biggest Friday night I've had since this noise ordinance is $4,800. You do the math. And that's 2 times a week. That's Friday and Saturday nights. So, and Aunt Jenny or whatever her name is, she complains. She's called the cops every time the band's been there while we're inside. She's just gonna complain until we shut down. So I don't know what you're gonna do about her.
Anybody have any questions for Terry? I want to ask, Chief, can you, and I know you don't have everything with you, but do you have knowledge of any other complaints at other businesses on the noise ordinance? Because I know we acted on a complaint when that ticket was issued.
We ran that report. I haven't ran it recent. Actually, it's a request of Alderman Whitman back months and months ago. We ran that report. I don't have it in front of me, but there wasn't many at all outside of, the Uncle Bubba's thing.
Have we had any in the last 48 days since the ordinance came into play that you can
I'm not
real?
aware of any.
Okay.
And just for clarification on the noise readers, I bought 2 so that if someone had an issue, same exact ones that we have, so to let y'all borrow. So I just.
Okay. Well, like I say, if you agree to raise the limit some, then at least we'll, at least give us a chance to stay under that limit. But 75 is almost what we're saying here.
Okay.
Oh, Scott came out the night after the morning after the meeting and stood on Memphis Street with a meter. And it was he was reading 65 to 67 just from Highway 51. So, I mean, it's just 75 ridiculous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Who else would like to speak?
Austin Wilson, 3242 West Heartland Drive. Like Chip said, this ordinance has been in effect for 48 days in the city of Hernando. In those 48 days, my tenants at Ivy have started entertaining again, started being able to babysit grandchildren again, sleep again. So they found a lot of relief in the past 50 days with this ordinance. There are some nights still where it's still you can hear it very easily. It is still very loud on some nights, even indoors. But we're back to a situation where it's very livable again. It's a tenable situation where the past 18 months prior can't say the same. So saying all that to say, I think changing the ordinance after just 48 days, we're getting back to where we started. I think backing up, also just backing up after 48 days that this has been in place, that's a bad precedent to your ordinance system. I think the board adopted a great ordinance. I think Mr. Pittman did a great job drafting the ordinance. It's very well written and very well thought out. I think now's the time, especially just after, we're talking 48 days, not even 2 months, we're talking days still. It's time to sit back, let it do what it does. And I watched the last meeting. I watched it back on YouTube. Doc asked Uncle Bubba's, what level do you think would work best for you? And 75 was suggested. So I think the ordinance has worked very well so far. Still loud at some times, but we're back to a livable situation. We're pleased with it. We're thankful that you guys got in office and did something for us. So tonight, I just asking you to leave it as is. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Austin. Who else would like to speak? Any discussion from the board?
I think we should correct the Friday and Saturday to 11 o'clock, which we thought we were voting in originally 48 days ago. Because we had so many different drafts in front of us, and it wasn't put in the original motion. I think we should at least increase Friday and Saturday to 11 o'clock p.m. as we were discussing.
I agree with that.
That's the impression they were under. We were all under that impression, and then found out that with so many different drafts, we did not make that amendment to change it from 10 to 11. And I think that's only fair to our business owners, not just one business owner, but all business owners that have live music on the weekend, because that is their most profitable days of the week.
Any other thoughts or discussion or a motion?
It seems like a lot of this is kind of coming from one really one unfortunate incident. I know that you had multiple weekends with lost revenue and a citation, and there's probably a little bit of growing pains there with having our police department work through the law enforcement aspect of this ordinance. I know they want to do nothing else than to enforce the laws of the city. They're not. I don't think they're out to target anybody specifically. They're going as complaints come in. I'm sure that we've all been at a neighborhood party or something like that that's had music, and maybe they get a call and come by and say, "Hey, can you guys turn it down?" I think that's probably happened to any one of us, those situations. So a change to the overall noise level, I'd like to see a little more data with it, whether it's us going out on site to see, are we really dealing with 81, 83 decibels if a live band's playing? Like, can we just see that for ourselves potentially? I don't know if that's something we could do to understand it a little bit better, because I don't think any of us, I go into warehouses daily for my job, and conveyor belts running through warehouses all day, that's 83 decibels a lot of times. Anything above 85, you have to have hearing protection per OSHA codes. So for an 8-hour workday, you can deal with, noise-induced hearing loss. So what are we talking about here exactly? Can we try to collect some more data on it and see real time in a real life scenario, what are we dealing with? I agree, the hourly changes were probably a misunderstanding. This is the first ordinance we've passed as a board. We're all 5 of us are fairly new at this, and ask for your patience as far as that goes.
And I think it would be doable for us, some of us as a group or individually, to get with the police chief or one of the officers with the handheld decibel reader and go out at night somewhere to any place that has live music and stand different distances and see what it sounds like, so you can kind of gather your own data and get your own opinion.
You got to factor in, too, Highway 51 traffic. That's added with all this. When a decibel reader outdoors is reading it. So unless it's completely silent and there's not a car driving on 51, which it's right there, you've got to factor all that noise, that background noise, in your readings. So is it strictly the band, or is it the combination of the two?
Any other comments?
There's still a lot of different factors that go into it, because I think if you had, given the location of the sound, if the location of the sound is coming from the back of the building and you're measuring it from the street right behind it, it's going to measure differently than from the side or the front, right? So it just has an adjacent street, so would that have to be beside, or would it have, I know that's really specific, but we want to make sure that it's being enforced.
This says as measured at the adjacent public street or curb, but at least 5 feet from the building. That's the way it states. That's not stating north, south, east, or west. So if you want to get really technical, it is going to bring in other noise. That's going to, I don't think, be a fair reading if everybody's trying to get, extremely technical, which we need to. That's just my opinion. No one wants a business to go under because nobody's looking at the fine tuning of this, which needs to happen.
Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Garrison.
I know he said that she was able to dog sit and babysit and all that, but she still calls the police almost every weekend. They still come.
Okay. Any more thoughts or a motion?
Can I make a suggestion real quick?
Sure. Would you come up and state your name and
Just as an outsider. James Jeffrey, I live on Howell Way. I can hear the band. Let me put it this way. I can hear the bass, and that's my point. I'm a hard rocker. I love bass. But that, I think, is the main problem. The bass carries. To your question about the sound, actually, your sound's going to equal itself out. The band music and the traffic are going to deaden each other, if you will, somewhat. But it's the bass that travels. So, I mean, if they could turn the bass down, I think you appease a lot of people, but just an observation.
Okay. Interesting thought. Thank you.
And that's part of what Alderman Piper said, kind of do a little data gathering.
I have a question for Ms. Garrison. So you said the police are coming out every weekend, But
So
you've
we're
only,
paying, the vans are inside.
but you've only gotten one citation. When they come out and they haven't written a citation, are they reading below 75?
They're not even bringing a reading, they're just having to come because she calls.
They just coming out to say they came out because she called.
Yeah,
And so they're not,
It's just
they're not giving us a ticket or
No, they're not
anything,
giving
but
us a
I
hard
mean,
time at all.
you
They're just
know.
wasting their time.
yeah.
but they're also not taking a reading at those moments either?
No, because they know it's, I mean, it's inside, so they know it's not
Okay.
over 75. She's just calling.
I see.
She sits outside with her little decibel meter. We see her all the time.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else from the board?
You know, we've only had this thing in here for 48 days. As far as we know, one citation. I'm at the thought, let's leave it where it's at, wait 6 months, 12 months, and reevaluate it. It's just my opinion.
What if we adjusted the time to 11 on Friday and Saturday, and we did some data on where the sound exactly is coming from different angles? Keep everything as it is, but adjust the time on Friday and Saturday to 11, which we were thinking that, and adjust until we get the data and see exactly what needs to happen. You know, because, I mean, you do have Highway 51 traffic.
We have 45 employees, so it's going to be a lot of people out of work too. So.
Right.
Any other discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to table this discussion until the first meeting in April and get more information.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to table it until April, until we get more data. Alderman Miller, your
Question
question?
is, y'all not gonna deal with the time that y'all know what's
I
here?
don't want to make any changes.
No, I'm just asking a question. That was the question. That's the
I
purpose of
want
the
to
question.
change the time to where we thought we were setting it originally.
I agree.
So I make a motion that
Well,
we...
we do have a motion and a second.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah. So the motion and the second is to table it until the first meeting in April while we collect data. I'll have a roll call vote on that item, Madam Clerk.
Alderwoman Ross,
No.
Alderman Piper,
Nay.
Harris,
Nay.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Nay.
Alderman Miller,
Nay.
Alderman Robinson,
Yes.
Alderman Wicker.
You say yay?
Yay, yay.
All right, and that motion fails. Is there another motion from the board?
I make a motion that we change the outdoor entertainment times on Friday and Saturday to be allowed between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. to amend our current noise ordinance.
Now, does that take 30 days to take into effect?
That's what I was about to ask. I think it
Immediately.
does. I think, but since it's an ordinance change,
This ordinance, you can't.
it'll be 30 days before that takes effect. Is that correct? And we'll have to publish it.
Can we also add to that we make that change as soon as possible, and we continue to do the research that's been recommended in the first motion to try to determine where the decibel level really should be before we make any changes there?
So there's not a second. Would you like to change your motion before we get a second?
Okay. Correct my motion as changing our outdoor entertainment being allowed on Friday and Saturday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. Immediately, and us gather the data on the decibel levels and what should be needed from our current 75 decibels, to if it needs to be adjusted upward, and what is, and based on that data.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. Before we
Is that
vote,
everything question?
yeah, you go ahead, Alderman.
And, I'm in agreement with what's being said, but for legal.
Can we amend it?
No, let me finish. Legally, what we could do tonight is to ask the attorney to bring an ordinance back with those changes on it. And then it run the time now because we can't, there's nowhere statute that you can set something immediately because of an ordinance. Ordinance it's got to run the timeline.
Of 30 days?
You gotta advertise it.
I was just gonna suggest that you include the word, as soon as legally possible.
As soon as legally possible.
That's all I was saying,
Okay.
you know.
So I think she's just amended her motion to add the words as soon as legally possible. Are you still seconding that one, Alderman Harris?
I do.
Okay, so that's the motion now. And it's seconded. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Robinson,
Nay.
Alderman Wicker,
Nay.
Alderwoman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman Harris,
Yay.
Alderwoman Lynch, Alderman Miller.
And that motion passes. So we will work with the attorney and the city clerk to see what we have to do legally to put this into effect and how many days that will be, and we will get back with y'all. We'll just email everybody and let you know.
I'd like to make a motion. It ain't finished yet, Mayor. You hold on.
Another motion? Okay.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
let's hear it.
I make a motion that upon the passing of the next ordinance, that everything be tabled for 6 months study until April. That's the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that after this amendment is adopted, there will be no more changes to this ordinance, and it will be studied for the next 6 months?
Until April.
Until April. April, okay, April. That's the motion. It's a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote on that.
Everybody wants some clarity. My
I
clarity
need some
is-
clarification
The
on that.
clarity is to
You're
get
saying
done.
that once the data comes back,
The clarity is to give chance to get all the data that's been mentioned tonight and look at the data and see where it need to be.
but we're not discussing it or doing any changes until April on that,
But you collect all the data.
on the decibel levels.
On the decimal level.
You said is it 6 months or is it April?
April. I'm just saying April, usually,
4.5 months.
you know. And then that'll give us 6 months, what we've been had it in effect about 6 months. then.
Is everybody clear on Alderman Miller's motion? If so, is there a second?
It won't take away nothing that
Did we already
was
second
already
it?
done.
I think Alderman Wicker seconded it, didn't he? Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Are we gonna decide about what sort of data we're gonna collect and how we're gonna collect it and who's gonna do that collection? Is that,
I think we'll just have to administratively do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and do the best we can. We'll work with the guidance of the police chief and the attorney. And we'll take input from board members, y'all, you know, for sure. We want to collect all the data we can, so we give you proper stuff to use to make your decisions in April. Any other discussion on that one before we vote? Okay, Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call vote?
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross,
No.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman Harris,
Nay.
Alderwoman Lynch,
aye.
Alderman Miller,
Uh,
Alderman Robinson.
And that motion passes. Okay. Any other motions on that topic before I move on? All right, next is the utility adjustment docket. I have a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Motion go in closed session.
There's a motion to go into closed session for prospective litigation.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. This board is now in closed session.
Speak about it.